Hello heroes and villains, and welcome to the Buildface channel, helping you build a better turn. My name is Dangerford, and I'd like to thank you once again for joining us. It is week 6 in spoiler season, and we are heading into the home stretch, folks. That's right, Legacy Set is just around the corner. It's less than a month away, so I am recording this really late at night, so if I sound a bit more goofy than usual, and let's all face it, I am already pretty damn goofy, so you're just going to have to deal with that. First up, let's get through some news. So the first bit that I wanted to mention is something that I think I should have done a while back, but it's just promoting the Super Awesome Games website, which is the company that is run by Danny and Ben. It's also the two guys that gave us this lovely game. So I think that we should show our support to them and check out their website. Just looking at the games that they make, I didn't realize this, but well, I knew they made legendary encounters both for Firefly, Predator, and Aliens, which are all super hard. They also made Versus, of course. They have a new game called Headhunters that looks really interesting, where it's kind of a miniatures game and everything fits into the top of the character's head. And then they also have a game called The Crow, Fire It Up. Hey! Fire it up! Fire it up! Which is, one, it's a funny name, and two, it looks really interesting. So, and then another game called Poker Assault. But anyways, check out their website. We'll be talking more about them later. The next bit of news is I just wanted to mention the first week of Versus on Tabletop Simulator has gone over really well. It's been really fun. I've been able to get some games in. Actually, I've been able to get some games in with the previews that we're about to show you for week 6, which is amazing. That means that Ben Ruig has been putting up all of the cards that are being spoiled the day they are coming out. That is just some dedication. Thank you so much once again to Ben. That's really appreciated. It means that we're already getting some playtesting in with all of these new cards. Also, if you are interested in getting Tabletop Simulator at all, then I highly recommend that you check it out right now as of this video. Hopefully, if this is released on Sunday like I'm hoping it will be, hopefully it's still on sale for you. It's generally $20, but this weekend, and I don't know when the sale ends, but it's only $10. It's 50% off right now. Not only do you have Versus, but you have a plethora of other games. There's a huge community of players that play all sorts of games. It's just a really neat game to check out. So check that out on Steam. The next thing I'd like to mention is that the UK Videocast team has released their own website called The Scoop UK, and it's pretty great, guys. So if you're interested in Versus and Hearthstone and Star Wars card games, then this is a good website to go to and check out their material. And it looks like they've also got some information on any of the conventions and expos that are happening in or around the UK. So if you're a local, then that's definitely a good hotspot for you. And then finally, I'd like to mention that the Build Phase League play is still in full swing. We are still in the signups, and honestly, there are tons of people who are interested in Season 2, and that makes us really excited, guys. This is just growing bigger and bigger, and I can't thank you enough personally and on behalf of the Build Phase how much we appreciate all the interest that has been generating because of this league. With Tabletop Simulator, there's also multiple ways for people to play now. Sure, one of them is behind a paywall, so if you don't want to pay for Tabletop Simulator, you still have Octagon, which is a perfectly legitimate way to play the game, and so it's just great that now we have some options. Okay, so now that the news is out of the way, let's get right into the previews. So on Monday, Daily Metagame released the Guardians of the Galaxy Loyalty Plot Twist card, and it is called You Are Groot. And it has, just like before, it has all the same requirements. So you must have 3 Guardians of the Galaxy characters out on the board. All of your cards in your deck must be team affiliated towards Guardians of the Galaxy, and during any turn combat, choose a character in the combat to get +1/+1 this combat for each resource on your side. So in the article, it is compared to Earth's Mightiest Heroes, especially if you were to use it on turn 2, when you would most likely have at least 3 characters out if nobody has been stunned in that first round. Then you're getting the exact same stats that you would get from Earth's Mightiest Heroes, which, if anyone recalls, is the Avengers plot twist that basically says to put +2/+2 on a character in combat. It's not dependent on the resources. So as you can see, obviously obviously this card is going to become more valuable as it becomes later in the game. I think that this card could work really well. It has a lot of good characters that can utilize it. Off the top of my head, I can think of Gamora. You've got, Drax and Groot, obviously, fits him. And honestly, that even if you can save all of them up until you get to turn 7 and Adam Warlock comes out, if you have multiple ones by that point, because it's turn 7, let's face it, you might see multiple copies of it, then you could be putting a ton of stats onto Adam Warlock, and he will just be a beast for that combat. So very cool card. Next up, Popper Tim and the Team Attack crew on Tuesday released the Defenders loyalty card, and that has all the same stipulations, and during the main phase, heal a wound from a character on your side. So there's one particular character, one main character, that I will not be talking about just yet because it's part of the spoilers for this week, but you can already tell that this card is a great card for the Defenders. It's something that fits thematically with their deck, as it's just more healing and more stalling. So I mean, if you have 4 of these in your deck, that can potentially mean, as you can see, it says character, not supporting character. You can use this on your main character as well. So that could mean an extra 4 health on your main character. That's just really good. Now, on the other side of the equation, Mr. Ben has mentioned this, and I have to agree with him in this circumstance, that healing wounds on your character is not going to help you necessarily win the game. So obviously, the way you win versus is by stunning the main character enough times that they reach 0. If you are not working towards that goal, then you can kind of see that this card doesn't really help you win games in particular. It does help you stall games, and if you are playing in a competitive atmosphere, it does mean that you are under the rules of a time limit, and also a rules of if nobody has been KO'd by the end of that 30 minutes or whatever the time limit is, then whoever has the least wounds wins. And so a lot of people have been kind of speculating that this card could be abused, but I honestly don't think that this card will see too much play, because the Defenders are a great team, but they kind of want to go off team in order for themselves to work in any sort of good manner, in my opinion. I mean, we could be seeing a lot of new characters that we haven't seen yet that will make this card completely and utterly viable. And who knows, maybe there's a character out there, Jessica Jones supporting character, who has 3 health that this could work really well with to use as your big blocker. So just keep that in mind. It's kind of odd to think of it in that way. I mean, healing is always a great thing, but it's not technically helping you win the game. So alright, next up is the build phase, the one, the only. It's us. That's right. I am so tired. Alright, so we have Jessica Jones, the main character for the Defenders, and this is the character that I was mentioning that the reality shift could work really well with, potentially. But let's just go over both of her abilities, both level 1 and level 2 right now. So level 1, she is flight with a 2/4 stat block and 6 health. She has the tough keyword, which if you guys don't remember, tough is the exact same thing that Jessica Jones supporting character has and Miss America has, which says that when Jessica Jones stuns, she may recover. She still takes a wound from it though. But as you can see, her level 1 ability, limited invulnerability. Any turn combat, pay a green, and Jessica can't be wounded this turn. Uses power only once, while Jessica is level 1. Stakeout is her level up condition. You need 5 of these. When an enemy character appears, Jessica gains an XP. I mean, obviously your opponent wants to bring characters out, but it's another one of those experience level ups that's dependent completely on your opponent. So going on to her level 2, she becomes a 6/6, and then she has Collar the Suspect for her level 2 ability. During the main phase, pay a yellow, look at an enemy player's hand, and discard a character from it. Also, another thing that's noteworthy is that her limited invulnerability turns back on to be procced for once while Jessica is level 2. So you get to use her level 1 ability twice during her level 1 and level 2 cards. Hopefully that made sense. So, a lot to unpack here. First off, tough is a really interesting keyword on a main character. It's something that I think is going to be delicate at first, and we're not going to see exactly how it's supposed to be utilized utilize. It's just not a card that any of us has ever piloted before, so I could see this card having a lot of confusion at first on where it really fits. Case in point, I tried making a Jessica Jones discard deck that kind of stalls a bit using X-Men in the beginning and then tries to use a bunch of discard effects later on so that Jessica Jones can see what's in the opponent's hand, can make clear and conscious decisions, and you're just making your opponent mill. That didn't work out too well. And I'll have to say it was because my opponent decided to not play another supporting character after turn 4, which meant that Jessica Jones stayed level 1 the entire game. That makes me so wary, guys. It's just such a weird thing. But all that said, let's try not to poop on the card too much here, because I really do think that she has potential to be very competitive if we can just find the right build for her. So her level 1 ability, if you didn't notice, it says she can't be wounded for the turn, meaning for the rest of the turn, Jessica Jones can just sit there and take whatever you have to give her, and she's just going to continually ready and not take that wound. So she's just this huge wall. If you think that tough is big on a supporting character, try it with limited invulnerability, guys. That's just crazy. That means even out of stun combats don't work on her, so it just saves you for an entire turn. And then obviously again you can do it in your second. The main idea that I had with this card build was that you use characters like Helmut Zemo and Ronin to also be discarding cards, and using characters like Psylocke and even Hope Summers. If you can get both of them out, make your opponent discard cards, and then also using Jessica Jones to discard those cards. It does mean that if you are making a curve deck and Jessica Jones gets level 2, that there's absolutely nothing that you can do barring having multiple copies of your supporting character to go on. There's nothing you could do if Jessica Jones just wanted to take your next curved card. That could be really debilitating. She does have a couple flaws. So obviously there's Moonstone, who can turn off her flight, making her a little bit less effective. And then also, I think this is pretty funny, but her level 2 ability called the Suspect, which I have to admit is really clever with her experience name. So experience name Stakeout. She's sitting there with her camera and she's taking pictures, and she's finally found her suspect, and now she's going to collar them, and she's going to just take them from your hand and just discard them out of your hand. I think that's a really cool ability. But either way, the other thing that can stop her is her own supporting character can stop her from spending the yellows. Another thing that can stop her is, yeah, sure, you could have your opponent discard that character, but if they're playing Valkyrie, they can just pull that character back out. I mean, sure, they have to pay a yellow in order to do it, but it does counter her a little bit. So yeah, this is just such a interesting card, and I really hope that we can find the right build for her. I think talking with Adam Logan and some of the Team Attack crew and the Build Face crew, talking with them a bit, we did have a discussion that she might work kind of like Captain Marvel, and so you would want to keep her up front, and then just a bunch of powerful ranged characters in the back that have good abilities but are really squishy, and if you don't have somebody to protect them, then they usually get stunned pretty quickly. I'm thinking of characters like Rocket, who lets you spend the red to grab any card out of your KO pile, stuff like that. So anyways, let's move on. So I'm gonna start calling the UK crew Scoop UK. I think it's a much cooler name. So anyways, the Scoop UK released a video cast on their YouTube channel for the main character for Guardians of the Galaxies, and that is Drax. We knew he was coming. We all thought he would have the keyword grab, but no, he does not. He has lethal. That's such an interesting ability to have on a main character. So let's go over his level 1. He is a 4/3, no flight, no range, 6 health with lethal. He has call enemy for his level 1 ability. During the main phase, pay a yellow, move an enemy supporting character to its front row. His level up condition is called the Destroyer. He needs 4 of these, and when Drax KOs an enemy character, he gains XP equal to its health. So first off, lethal, such a great card. I think that there's a potential, if the rest of the supporting characters for Guardians of the Galaxy are really good, I think there's some potential that Drax could utilize their legacy card to do some major damage with lethal. Him team attacking with anybody from Guardians would work really well, but I think he wants to combo, because while Guardians of the Galaxy is a great team and they have one of the best plot twists in the game, even the odds, they don't really have very much counter generation, and I think that's exactly what Drax needs, is counter generation. So how are we going to give it to him? There's many ways. It's not necessarily counter generation, but there's the company and their equipment. You could give him range with the rifle and put him in the back and make him a a 7 attack when he's attacking. That would work really well, really well. Also, there is the power loader, which again works in the same premise, just a really big stick that can just punch you to death. And then there are just, any type of team that allows you to do your counter generation would work really well for Drax. So moving on to his level 2, he is a 6/6, and his level 2 ability is Brutal Strength. During the main phase, pay a green, put +1/+1 counters on Drax equal to the total health of enemy characters that were KO'd this turn. That's pretty interesting. I mean, there's your counter generation right there, right? So if you can wait long enough to get Drax leveled up, which might work out pretty well considering we've got so many 1s and 2s and 3 drops now that have multiple health, which means that if Drax is KOing them with lethal, then 2 health is already half of the experience that he needs. It's just such a strange way of looking at this, that it's equal to the number of characters that were KO'd. It's such a strange way to look at his level 2 ability and having to count up the total health of all the enemy characters that were KO'd that turn. That could be really good, that could be just really bad. I suppose it just depends on what the other side has. If you're seeing something like Dark Phoenix and she's ramping up and you've got some big characters out there, then Drax may not be big enough to do it on his own. But on the other hand, if you are looking across the table at a Swarm deck, if you're looking at a Aliens, Adolescent Legion Swarm build, or even the Avengers, or even say the X-Men with their appearing Shadowcat shenanigans, Drax could really benefit from those guys because he'll just get more value out of it. Okay, and then lastly, my favorite card of the whole week has got to be the one that was released on Friday. Generally, it's done by Upper Deck, but this time it was done by Ben and Danny from Super Awesome Games. Again, you can go to their website at superawesomegames.net and you can follow the link to their Facebook page from there, and it gives you a description on how to use this card, which I will go over here in a little bit. But anyways, let's reveal the card. It is Onslaught. He is an 8-drop super villains. If you'll notice, the first thing is his stats and his health have stars or asterisks where the numbers should be. Well, we will have to read the card in order to figure out what's going on here. So, Joint Consciousness. Here's a little bit of a novel, but here we go. When you recruit Onslaught, each player reveals cards from the top of their deck until they reveal a character other than Onslaught. Remove those characters from the game and shuffle the remaining cards back into those decks. Onslaught has the powers of the removed cards and base stats equal to their total attack, total defense, and total health. Ooh. So, on the Super Awesome Games Facebook page, here is what they have to say about Onslaught. A Super Awesome Games joint consciousness. In the comics, Onslaught was created from the joint consciousness of Professor X and Magneto, 2 of the most powerful mutants of all time. In Versus, he's not nearly as choosy. So Onslaught's power triggers when you recruit him, which means you've paid his recruit cost and announced that you're recruiting him, but he hasn't appeared yet. This means that any appears powers he's taken from the characters he's removed from the game will trigger when he does appear. For example, let's say the 2 characters he removes is Iron Man and Black Panther. When Onslaught appears, he'll trigger Inventive, meaning that he'll be able to flip over a location, and then he'll be an 8/9 with 3 health, flight, range, and ferocious. So if you want to continue the discussion with that, you can check them out on Facebook, and also it's on the Facebook Collective as well. That's just so cool, guys. So flavor-wise, coolest scenario would be if you drew into both Professor X and Magneto, but barring those 2 characters, I know you probably heard me say this before in a previous week, namely when I was talking about Mr. Sinister, but now, really, the possibilities are endless with this character. He could be a chump, he could be the greatest thing in the world. I'll give you 2 examples. First, I'll give you the bad one. So the other day when I was playtesting with him on Tabletop Simulator, again, thanks Ben Rugg, so I drew into Nick Fury, which meant that he was a 1/5 with 1 health and range from Nick Fury, and then had a pretty lame pay yellow and ramp up a little bit. And then the other side drew an Iceman, meaning that all in all, combined together, I had a total of 3 attack, 6 defense, and 2 health. And then I was able to freeze somebody because in this instance, Onslaught does work with appear effects because it's happening at the same time as when you recruit him. So he is appearing when you're recruiting him. So that's pretty lame, right? But on the other hand, I had a game against Mr. Ben today, and I had Thanos out on my board, and I drew into Onslaught, and I drew yet another Thanos on my side, and Mr. Ben drew a, let me see here, if I remember correctly, I think it was Iron Man. So altogether, that was a 17, 19, 3 health character who had inventive, which meant I got to flip a location over, and I also had Thanos's ability to pay a green and wound a character that is already stunned. So guess what I did? In one turn, I was able to stun Mr. Ben's Captain America main character with Thanos, and then I spent the green from Thanos, and I spent the green from Onslaught, and I put 3 counters on to Captain America. That was awesome. It was just so powerful, yet it could also not be very powerful. I think this card, you really have to, it's a very niche card, and I don't know if it's going to be competitive, but it's certainly going to be my favorite card to play, at least in the kitchen table, and will probably have at least one of them in my deck if I have any sort of a curve deck, just in case I do reach 8 and want to use them. Yeah, the possibilities are endless. At least we know that he'll be having at least 2 health, because he's combining the health of both characters, which makes him pretty playable as far as, you know, he'll stick around for a little bit unless you get lethal. But, I think that this card needs to be in a specific type of deck, namely a ramp-up deck. So that means that, yes, Dark Phoenix is back, and she is shooting for Onslaught, most definitely. Not only that, but you want to load up your deck with good characters that allow you to get really cool effects, so that you can at least mitigate on your side. What you'll be getting will be something valuable, so that if the opponent draws into a crummy character, you've at least got one good ability or one good stat block. So yeah, that's what I've got for you this week. I hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for bearing with me and my tired ass. Thanks for watching yet another video. I really do appreciate you guys checking in and watching these. I hope that they're informative for you. If you have any comments or suggestions and feedback, you can totally leave them down in the comments below. I really like hearing from you guys, and generally I try to write back to you each time I do see something new pop up. So if you haven't already, please subscribe. Please share this, especially right now. We're going into the ending of spoiler season, and I think that hopefully we'll be drumming up a little bit more interest for the game. If you have any friends that you think are interested in the game, and also there's Origins and Gen Con coming up as well. So if you guys are interested, please spread the word. Also, if you'd like to email us either about the league or just anything in particular that you just don't want to be seen public, then you can reach us at contactus@thebuildface.com, or you can head over to our website and hang out on the forum and talk about more things versus related, and that's at thebuildface.com. Not only that, but with the culmination of Tabletop Simulator, I have also linked my account to the Build Face channel, which means that all of the videos that are on YouTube will also be featured on Steam. I'm not sure if that really makes very much of a difference, but if that's what you like to go through, then you can always watch the videos over there. And I'd also like to mention that I would be happy to play with anybody on Tabletop Simulator if they are looking for a game. I'm not really too sure what name you have to search for me, but it's either Danger Ford or Ender2814.thebuildface. So try to search for either one of those, and if you can get a hold of me and I'm free, then I'll totally play a game with you guys. So hell, I might even record it, and then maybe we can put it up on this here little channel of ours, and you can be featured as playing a game with me, whatever that might mean. Alright, so enough rambling from me. Thank you so much guys for watching this video. My name is Danger Ford, and I'd like you to have a good night.